My dear brothers and sisters, we've had an incredible journey of Jesus and his apostles. And I think if I were to take a key phrase for this week, it would have been the words that Jesus asked his apostles, "Are you still without understanding? Are you still without understanding?" And that came from the story we heard 2 days ago of Jesus talking about the leaven of the Pharisees and the leaven of the scribes. And the apostles we are thinking is talking about that they did not have enough bread. And Jesus said to them, "Are you still, you have eyes but do not see, you have ears but do not hear?" So, and then in the end he asked them, "Are you still without understanding?" And yesterday we came to read also the story of the healing of the blind, so symbolic of Jesus healing the blindness of the apostles. The apostles do not really understand, and Jesus has to clear them that out of their eyes. They have eyes but do not see. They do not really understand that. And today is a real test to that. Jesus asked them, "Who do people say I am? And who do you say I am?" So Peter answers very well, "You are Christ." He has some understanding, but it's not complete. And that is why yesterday in the gospel we heard that the blind man did not just receive his sight instantly. It had to happen and happen again. It was a process. So he saw people at first like trees moving, and then later on Jesus clarified everything. We find Peter today in the gospel, he professes Jesus as the Christ. But does he really understand what it means? Because later on, when Jesus tells him what it means to be Christ, he does not understand that. He feels that Christ would be somebody who would be majestic. He would come with all the power and all the might, and everything would all be good. He does not really understand what he means by Christ. And when Peter professes Jesus as Christ, it reminds me of baptism. When we receive baptism and we have to profess our faith, and the priest asks, "Do you deny Satan?" "I do, I do, I do." We are all it's all wonderful to receive baptism, and we say we become followers of Christ. We are ready to suffer with Christ. We are ready to do everything as Christians. But then the challenge comes when we come in front, when we encounter trials, when we encounter challenges in life. And we must often hear stories or words like, "If God really loves me, okay, will he allow me to go through this? If God really loves me, will he allow me to face this particular trial at this moment?" And that just makes us to realize that we do not really understand what it means to be followers of Christ. Because Jesus said, "Yes, I am the Christ." What does being a Christ mean? That I have to suffer. I will be handed over to the power of man. I will suffer. I will be crucified. I will be killed. Peter does not understand that. He rebukes him and he says to him, "Lord, it's not supposed to be like that. To be a Christian does not really mean that we have to go through suffering. To be Christ means that you have to sit there and people will be all around you, would command, and things are going to happen. Because at this moment they have seen the power of Jesus. They have seen Christ doing a lot of things. They have seen a lot of miracles happen through his hands. And they know, yes, this is the Christ." And once he's declared, once he openly declares himself as the Messiah, great things are going to happen through his hands. He's going to command, and it's going to come into being. He's going to defeat those Romans who have oppressed us for many years. That is the idea that Peter has. It means he is still without understanding. And Jesus says to him, "You are thinking not as God does, but as human beings." Because we human beings, we believe that when somebody loves us, then he's going to do everything good. Everything is going to be good for us. And then we don't just understand, how is it that God loves us, yet things are happening in this way? We are still going through the suffering that we are going through every day. And what is really the way God thinks? What is the real understanding that we are supposed to have of God? is that God loves us. He loved us into being. He did not really need us to become. Without us, God will still be God. But we exist today because He loved us into being and is longing to have this relationship of love with us. He wants us to love Him back as well. And we hope that one day we'll be united with Him in that perpetual love of God. And all that happens in this life, and that is the great wisdom that we must carry with us all the time, that everything that happens in this life is directed towards that love of God. He's longing to love us. He's longing to have that perpetual love with us in the life to come. So it's not about what happens in this life. Everything that happens in life is a preparation for the life to come. It's a preparation of that perpetual love that we long to have with God one day. That God is preparing. God is always longing to love us. And that is why when we separate ourselves by our sinfulness, by our weakness, it's always longing to reach out to us that we may be in that perpetual love with Him. Therefore, even the sufferings that we go through in life is all part of that. Jesus Himself gave us an example of how to become humans, that He accepted the suffering. He did not resist it. He did not say, no, I am the Christ, that should not happen to me. No, He accepted it and showed us how to be truly human, that even that is still part of the story that is going to end with our union with God one day. And this is what Peter does not understand. But he would understand later on, because later on he would also have to go through this crucifixion. And at that time he would say, even I am not worthy to be crucified like my Lord. Please crucify me upside down, because I am not worthy to suffer just like Jesus suffered. Yes, in fact, he understood. His blindness had to be healed slowly, just like the blindness of the man yesterday, the man at Bethsaida, the blind man of Bethsaida, who received his sight, but slowly. It was a process. And therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, let us remember that we are a pilgrim church. We are still on the journey towards that life. And as we journey towards this life, let us continue to ask for God to enlighten us, to grant us the spirit of wisdom, to be able to receive all the things that we go through in life, knowing that God will never leave us nor forsake us. He knows exactly what He is doing. And all we have to do is to trust Him, to trust the process, and to believe that one day that story we would understand when we are in union with God in that place of perpetual love.